This is where the fun begins.
It is settled then. My wealth will fund the rebellion while Garm provides our fleet and Mon Mothma our soldiers.
An elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
Are you sure? So be it.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure if this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Did you miss me?
CAF. Lots of it. For me and for the Ready Room. I have a feeling this mission is not one we can fly in our sleep.
Oh, hello. I'm way down here, itty bitty. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your Thursday morning Cat Chat with your host, Laura, OG Star Wars. Welcome to the channel. If you're brand new here, or if you're popping on and seeing what the heck is this all about, I am streaming on YouTube and Twitter, and I forget that my shows do go on Rumble as well. I have to go over there and check the mechanics on there. It's been a very long time since I've been over on that platform, but I do have everything going over there as well. At least I used to. So welcome again. How are you guys doing? Now, you know CAF, coffee, Star Wars word for coffee, CAF. So what's in your mug? What are you enjoying today, this morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world, as we sit down and talk about real Star Wars? Yes, real Star Wars. George Lucas era. The Star Wars that was created under his vision, under his guidance, and using his movies for the foundations and expanding all the way from there, from the movies to the expanded universe, to the games, to the comics, all the things, right? So good morning, you guys. I'm happy to be here. Now, today's going to be interesting. We are going to get into, of course, our Lucas Facts and our Book of the Week, which when I was choosing the Book of the Week, it ended up having a Lucas Fact in the continuity notes. And I thought it'd be very cool to include that Lucas Facts of that continuity notes that could be used for Lucas Facts. So I have a 2-in-1 kind of deal. And the book is basically a 2 or 3-in-1 if you want to count the short story with it. And I'm excited to share that with you because I don't know if many of you guys have read these stories yet or not. They're scholastic ones. So sometimes people don't cover those or put them in their library or have forgotten about them. So just a hint there. Just a hint. And of course, our new Jedi Order talk is going to get into further the escape from Yavin. So we're at a point here where in the timeline, it's going into rebirth. Anakin basically stays at Yavin to go rescue Tahiri. And he gets help from a shamed one. And we'll get into what these shapers are a little bit more and shamed ones are. And he helps them infiltrate the Shaper compound to find Tahiri. And during this time, he ends up becoming a slave, I guess you could say. And he learns to use, and I forgot to get the friggin' name of them again. Anyways, they're crystals off of a tree that the Vong, implanted on, and they use for like lanterns and lights and stuff like that. But he's learned, because they're sentient, I guess. I think I can if I remember, they're sentient or something like that. So Anakin meditates and bonds with one and makes a new lightsaber, because his original lightsaber gets destroyed or something like that. But anyways, we'll get into more of that as we start reading. And then we get into Shelter. What is Shelter? And who's involved with rescuing further, I wouldn't say further rescuing, but rescuing and taking the padawans, younglings from Yavin that were rescued. Who's involved with that? So very, very interesting bits there, I guess you could say. And these are just parts of the novels, the two novels from Edge of Victory. Like I said earlier, it's so dense, I guess you could say, in a good way, not dense like in a dumb way. You know how people could use that as a negative connotation to someone. But it's so dense with the lore and what's going on during the time that you can talk about certain chapters just alone by themselves. Just alone by themselves. And it doesn't fucking blend in together. There's so much shit going on. How fucking could it blend in? When stories blend in, that means there is no interesting events going on, and it can't captivate the reader. And I'm telling you, these, right before we get to Star by Star, and Star by Star is going to be a crazy one to go through, okay? It's going to be a crazy one. But when you have such detailed, eventful writing, how in the hell can it blend together when, like I said, you can talk about a few chapters together alone by themselves, or even like Anakin's story in general, rescuing Tahiri, or you could talk about what's going on with Mara Jade at the time and how her and Luke are now wanted by the New Republic and have to leave Coruscant, and they're fugitives. And so yeah, there's so, like I said, it's so good. I mean, it's just, it is. But I'm mumbling now. I'm just, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and see who's in the chat, what's going on with you guys, and please like, share, and subscribe. Become a channel member as well. Thank you guys for continually coming in every Thursday to sit and talk with me. I know mornings when I air, sometimes it's not ample time for a lot of people because of work, what's going on in everybody's lives and stuff. So I thank you so much for returning time and time again. Soul Assassin, if you could see my finger, I'm flipping you off. I'm not turning the camera right now because I'm not camera ready. Morning time. I just didn't feel like this morning. It's cloudy here right now. We have a spring storm coming through. And it just felt so good just to have an extra 10 minutes in bed before I get up, before getting up and getting ready and stuff. So yeah, I decided that I'm not going to worry about the face and stuff like that. So no camera time. Anyone else thought the Ewoks were just mutant bears? You can say that. What do you guys think? Ewoks, mutant Care Bears? Please hit the like button, share the stream, tell OG your favorite new Jedi Order character. Yeah. Who's reading along? I know you guys come here and you're following along with what we're talking about, but who's reading along? Or even if you just started. Because the whole purpose of this is, it's like a new Jedi Order renaissance, right? Getting people interested again with the new Jedi Order and the events that happen, like how many years now? Like this is like 25 through 27. I'm guessing it's around that time frame. ABY. So this is like 23, 24 years or something like that after Endor. And it totally goes into a different direction on who the villains are and what's going on in the galaxy and the bigger threat, I guess you could say, the villains. So why not come along and read with us, right? And get into it and re-spark your interest in New Jedi Order. Hello, Star Wars Scran. How are you doing? Let's see here. And everyone hit the like and subscribe. Yes, become a channel member. Yes, this is what I forgot here. So on the 27th, that's a Sunday. I'm looking at my calendar to make sure I got the actual number right of the day. Yeah, on the 27th at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Push the time frame back a little bit. Is the last listen party to Dark Forces. This is Jedi Night. So if you have not became a channel member, what the fuck are you waiting for? Yes, I cussed. I do that sometimes. What are you waiting for? You know, every little bit helps. Like subscribing helps. Coming and listening, and even if you're not a subscriber, that helps. And but becoming a channel member, that really helps because it helps keep the equipment up to date for the channel. And of course, it helps pay for the Wi-Fi so I can stream. And then I would love to help provide other little perks, I guess you could say. I want to find a way to be able to send postcards and stuff to channel members. That would have to be probably something under Patreon. I don't have the time to do a Discord or a Patreon right now. But if I did something like that where channel members went to Patreon or a Discord, there's a way I can send out channel member perks every month where you would receive a special postcard of something of a image I painted that's related to the channel, or so on. So, I mean, I have all these ideas. I'm working through my solo art show here right now, but as I'm working through that and taking breaks and doing other type of images like my Anakin. If you haven't seen my Anakin in honor of Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith. Return of the Jedi is my absolute favorite, but Revenge of the Sith is my second. Check it out. I have it on. I have a little clip of progress on my Twitter. All right, let's see who's here. So get in there, become a channel member, and meet me. I will prepare the link and everything here pretty soon. And meet me for a listen party. We have a good time in there. All right, and then we have corn. I was gonna say that's Conrado. I almost said Coronado. I did it. I haven't done it in a long time, so damn it. Scissor fist the like button. Yeah. And Anakin Batsy is here. Good morning. Hiya. Let's see here. And Andor Producers is using Mothma's husband as a stand-in for Bail Organa. I guess. I don't know. I'm surprised she's straight in Disney canon. You would maybe she's bi and we don't know that yet, right? You never know. They always put a fucking twist on everything. And Jim the Despot is here. What's up? How are you doing? And Disney censors a name Slave1 because George hurt their feelings by calling them white slavers. Well, I guess there's a point right there. I don't know. But George is not afraid. The badass George is not afraid to use slaves and names like that because it doesn't just specifically mean one thing that happened to basically a lot of groups of humans in our reality, not just one. And the story behind, and we'll get into that again. So let's talk about that. Cringe Factor is about Slave1. So we'll get into that. And we'll get into some interesting facts about where it originated and the concept art, all of that. So there we go. I had a strawberry Fanta earlier. Now I'm drinking ice cold water. Sounds good. And let's see here. Purist, I love when people make lore vids about Shaper class, but only listen to a 3-hour abridged version of Vector Prime. We know how that book really deep dives into the Shaper class. Oh no, damn. Okay, I know who. Basically, I probably know who you're talking about there, but I find that too interesting because they really haven't read even Legacy of the Force. And I love New Jedi Order, and I think Legacy of the Force is like they're almost tied in my favorites, and it goes back and forth, really. But to listen and know that they never read the material and that they're doing lore videos and they can't be bothered. It's too long. It's too daunting to get through. It's a chore, I guess you could say. Then why the fuck are you doing this shit? Why do you want to get into Star Wars? Yeah, you could be a normie and just love the movies and some of the shows, I guess. More power to you. But if it's too daunting, too much of a chore to read and get into the lore, then I think maybe you need to rethink your fandom, your likes about Star Wars. Because my love of Star Wars after the movies, like I wanted, and many of you guys heard the story before. What got me into Star Wars is wanting to know what happened with Luke, Han, and Leia, especially Luke after Return of the Jedi. I want to know, did he keep his word with Yoda? What happened? How did he successfully rebuild the order? What happened to Han and Leia? Did they really get married? All of that. All of that was set up by George, for the authors and Lucasfilm to expand on some more. Under his guidance, mind you, under his guidance. And so getting through that, reading through that, studying or exploring or researching, all of that was not daunting, was not a chore, because I was fucking excited. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know how one story led to the other, to the other, to the other. What happened? What's going on? Oh, Han and Leia did have kids. They're twins. And then they had a son and they named after Anakin. So all of that. So if it's really a fucking chore, rethink your love of Star Wars and maybe not do lore videos on the areas that feel like a chore. And that's probably why they have to hire ghostwriters, because it's too daunting, too much of a chore for them to not only read, but to write and make a decent lore video. And so when they make these lore videos, they don't know to correct their ghostwriters on shit that is wrong. And it's very fucking telling. Because that too is a chore, right? They're so fucking lazy. Oh my God. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to get off my soapbox here. Thank you, Purist. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Consider becoming a channel member so you can join us for the conclusion of Dark Force novel trilogy. Yes, Jedi Knight. And this will be right after Andor comes out, and I think rightfully so. And so I'm going to make an announcement here too, and I will repeat it again later. So next Thursday, let me see what date is that. So next, we really don't need the date, but still, I'm just going to take a look. So next Thursday is the 24th. So it's 2 days after the first premiere of Andor. I should have did it for this week, but I just thought about it when I was prepping for CAF chat, and I decided to stay with my initial plan. So next Thursday, we are going to get into the formation of the alliance to the Rebel Alliance, basically. The Alliance to Restore the Republic. We're going to get into that. We are going to talk about all the events that led up to the formation of the Alliance.
It is settled then. My wealth will fund the rebellion while Garm provides our fleet and Mon Mothma our soldiers.
And I'll have a bigger clip on that as well, because there's more said there in that moment. But I just wanted to share this clip because when you look, when you research, and when you, Andor, basically, when you research Andor and you find out Mon Mothma is like hustling and basically committing fraud, or I don't know, they're making her so fucking shady in Andor when it comes to funding the rebellion. You're like, there's something missing. It's Bell. Bell provided the money. Garm, basically the ships, all of that, and Mon Mothma, the soldiers. So you have the money, the technology, and the people, and all three of them coming together to, and then we have Akbar, who basically is the commander, basically. But you have all of them coming together, signing the treaty to tie all these rebel factions together into one alliance. So we're going to talk about that next Thursday. So we're going to take a pause with New Jedi Order. And I will sit down and I will put all the stuff together because I think it's very important. And then seeing what Andor brings out. I'm not watching it, but I will research and what's going on with it. So I can provide any kind of details I need to show how Disney Star Wars is fucking it all up. How they're fucking it up. We all know they are. And we really don't have to show any proof. We already know they are just by how they're not including Bell in this formation and in the series or the show or whatever. But from the beginning, we know that Disney's been fucking up Star Wars. So, I mean, that's just a given. Let's see here. Where did I leave off at? Let's see here. I'm like, I don't, oh, here we go. The shavers are using their organic razors to shave their beard. Okay. Hello, Diddly Squad. How are you doing? All right. And consider becoming a channel member. Yes. Yes. I don't have that clip. It's funny and it's annoying. So I didn't get that from her. A lot of you guys have that if you have channels like Scran. I think Scran might have that. I might be wrong, but I know Pierce has it. And so does Grizz and Melvin. Gatekeepers Alliance. Ooh, there we go. Star Wars Grand. The 3-hour abridged audio books are pure filler. They're very plot heavy to the point. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, pure filler and stuff. Right now, I'm still on the book 1 of Edge of Victory. I'm almost done with it now, but I decided to pull up the Audible that is the abridged version just to compare. You know me, I like to compare and contrast stuff. And so I've been listening to that just recently, just while I'm cleaning around the house and I'm painting and all that stuff. All right. Diddly Squat says, I'm also dense, but not with lore, just dense. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love your guys' humor. That's what it's all about here. It's sitting here talking about Star Wars and joking, having fun, all of that shit, right? So let's ask them, the crystal you were thinking is called the Gambit. Thank you. Or the Lambit. Thank you. Lambit crystal. Thank you so much. I didn't even realize like if it started with an L or not. I just could not remember the fucking name. Okay, Laura, like I am just passing like crazy. Iron Inquisitor. I'll probably view New Jedi Order as peak alongside Couture 2 and Bane Trilogy when I get to it. Ah, that's right. You still working your way towards it, right? You never read it? Boy, oh boy. To read it again as for the first time. Holy crap, I envy you. And let's see here. I need more villains without reusing the Sith or Empires. Let's see here. Check out my merch, and I will have the Boba Fett one up here pretty soon. I can't wait. That's gonna be fucking amazing. I still gotta finish building my website with my gallery, so you can order professional prints if you want to instead of ordering them on merch. Yeah, let's see here. I'm 4 books in New Jedi Order's peak, and I heard those Lucino books and Balance Point are mid. Oh my God, holy shit! I have 37 beautiful souls here. Press the like button, become a channel member. All of that, any bit helps, even super chats. I really don't, stress about super chats, but they're always welcome. So when you guys do, thank you so much. Matthew says, I can't believe Disney is republishing Revenge of the Sith with notes from Stover in an expensive deluxe edition. I'm not going to be supporting it, and I like Stover. And that's the thing. You spend your money how you want to, but if you really don't like what Disney's doing with the franchise, even with George Lucas stuff that was printed or made before Disney became the owners of it, don't buy it, don't support it. I mean, this is such a heavy one too, because I want to see what, Stover is saying in the annotations at the way bottom and his notes, but I don't want to support Disney. So that's a tough one. Very, very tough one for me, but I'm standing my ground. I read New Jedi Order. If I had all of the novels, perhaps it's time to look into local used bookstores. Yeah, that thriftbooks.com usually is a good source. I know I've heard a lot of good things and a few bad things about when people get their novels. So, but I still recommend it because they are reasonable priced. They're not going to gouge you because it's a book that maybe is like a hardcover or a book that is non-Legends label and stuff like that. Let's see here. Lucas Gerson is here. How are you doing? Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon to you. Slave1, Slave Leia. Do you mean Boba Fett starship? What's a Slave1? Let's see here. Hi, it's been ages since I last caught a live stream. Hello, Robotic Pope. How are you doing? And welcome back. We are going to get ready. We're going to get into Lucas Facts and Book of the Week now. I'm just having a good time shooting the shit with you guys. Anakin felt the Yuuzhan Vong on the Force on that book. Very neat. Yeah, because of the Lambent, that kind of helped him. Like they couldn't feel him, so they were a void in the Force. So that's how they can kind of quote unquote detect them. But that Lambent helps them out significantly. And for that's for everyone who mocks a Vong for being supposedly out of the Force. Correct. Lore is a chore. That should be a thing. Lore is a chore. Especially for Disney Star Wars, right? Lore is a chore. There we go, right? Right? And then for those dumbasses who can't fully read and get into the EU because it's a chore. Lore is a chore. Okay. But they've got time to play video games for hours. Of course they do. That's their time and that's how they want to spend it. But everything else is too much and it's a chore, I guess. Lore is a chore. Lore is a chore. Okay. Remember, New Jedi Order is 19 books, but Legacy of the Force and Fate of the Jedi, I'm pretty sure that's what you would combine for 18 books. How does one know of Darth Caedus and Abeloth, especially due to her late entrance in the series without reading 18 books? Oh my God. OGB, let me tell you about the Vong invasion of the Republic. And I'll answer, let me tell you about the Republic's ignore the Mandalorian raiders till they reach the Republic mid-rim worlds. 2 different timelines. And that's amazing. That's amazing. And I love that like Soul Assassin's learning new stuff here because he's more into the old Republic leading to like the PT and stuff like that. And so this is all new grounds for him as well. So I want to continue to read, but let me go ahead. We're going to introduce, which one do I want to do first? We'll do Lucas Facts. So let's go ahead and get into Lucas Facts because we're already past the half hour of starting. And yeah, I can sit here and just chat, shoot the shit, chat with you guys for days, right? But we got a program to run and we have a schedule to maintain. So let's see here. Let's go ahead. Do this.
That's great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
All right, Lucas Facts, and this will pop up on Twitter. You guys can share it out, save it, what have you. So this might tell what one of the book of the weeks is, but I don't care. George Lucas gave instructions to authors to not write certain characters in or around the prequel trilogy timeline. So that's something that we all know. And then Padme was off limits during the time due to her pregnancy not yet known to many beyond George. So the stories, when she, all of that, Padme's pregnancy, all of that, George was still developing on how he wanted to write and how he wanted to portray her in that timeline. And of course, it's George's character. It's George's story, right? And what he says goes. And once he opens up the PT for everybody, man, the floodgates, it's amazing, right? But this book that we're going to review here pretty quick, the book of the week, or at least one of them, is a rare exception made towards Jude Watson's Secret of the Jedi scholastic novel. So basically, Jude Watson, George made a rare exception to Jude Watson's Secret of the Jedi, which is a scholastic novel. So nice little interesting lore, Lucas fact here, because he was very, I'll DM you, yes to you. He's like, you need it on there, Laura. You really need it. You need to be hip like us other channels, right? But anyways, going back to this. Hey, Abu Nas, how are you doing? Now going back to this, George made a rare exception towards Jude Watson's novel that at the time. So I think that's very interesting because even when Timothy Zahn, and this is way earlier than this novel that came out, George is like, you guys can't write in the PT era, whatever, you can't, I warn you on talking about it because I haven't decided exactly the storyline yet or what's going to happen. And I want to be the one to open this timeline, which again, rightfully so, right? And it's funny that he's like restricting the PT era, right? But never restricted post Return of the Jedi. What? Because George wasn't going to do anything post Return of the Jedi. And he said that time and time again, even after the buyout. He wasn't going to do a sequel trilogy. Even after the buyout, he admits that. He wasn't going to do anything past that timeline. And that's one thing, because George contradicts himself. We know that already. We already know George contradicts himself time and time again. But one thing he kept consistent was saying he was never going to do a sequel trilogy. What was given to, and ideas of what he thought could have been, doesn't mean he was going to write them. The treatments that he did write was for Disney. It was part of the negotiations. And when you look at like one of them or both of them, I think there was more than two from what I recall. They're still in tandem. There's still ideas that maintained some form of continuity. And again, treatments are ideas. Ideas change, even up into this the writing of the scripts. But they still maintain lore in a way, in a sense. These ideas still maintain some kind of structure to the lore. And I'm saying even with the EU, but we're not here to discuss that. But my point is that he restricted the PT because that's where he was going next to open up the lore. But he never, ever restricted post Return of the Jedi because he wasn't going to expand on that. So there's something to think about right there. So let's go ahead and get into the book of the week so we could start talking about the new Jedi Order lore topics we have for today. And I don't know how many of you guys, is Anakin Solo one of your like a favorite character? Are you fascinated with him? Like what was being built around him as a character and how he has been seen by Luke and the Order at the time. So share with me what you think about Anakin Solo. Was he a potential favorite character of yours until you found out that, oh, he's going to get killed off or he got killed off? So let me know in the comments here. So I'm going to go ahead and play another clip and then we'll get into book of the week. So let's see here. What do I want to do here? What do I want to do? Let's play this one here, just because we know that this guy can't even maintain lore in Star Wars, let alone like even make sense of Lord of the Rings.
I can always point to two female characters that made a huge impression on me. One would be Leia, the other would be the character of Eowyn from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. I won't go into that, it's not my franchise, but Lynn will appreciate that I don't. But the idea that Eowyn slew the Witch King, slayed him, blew my mind as a kid. I had to go back and read that chapter several times in a row right there. Because as a young boy, I had never come in contact with that concept. But this woman took out this main terrifying villain.
Lore.
I hate to say it, but it looks like the item you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
All right. So here we go. Here is the Cat Chat book of the week. And yes, lore is a chore. And it's a big chore for Filoni, but not for people like Jude Watson. And we'll get into this. So Jude Watson, this is the omnibus of two, I would say 3 novels in one by Scholastic. So this is a young readers or young readers. That's why I'm saying that some people may not even consider like young readers of Star Wars novels as part of their library and stuff like that. Or maybe you only read it once or twice and never picked it up again. And that's fine. But as a collector now, knowing how valuable these are because of Disney ruining the lore and stuff and discontinuing the EU in its production, it's very important to collect everything that you could possibly can. And that's what I'm doing. And I do have this. I picked this off. I've been trying to stay within the timeline of Revenge of the Sith because on May 19th, I'm going to have a special live talking about the art of Revenge of the Sith and going and talking about the movie. Doing a little bit different than what people would normally do of just talking about the movie and or even the novel in general. I wanted to get into the art of it because, you know, me, an artist, makes sense, right? So here we go. So I'm leading up. I'm trying to include Book of the Week and Lucas facts that pertain to around Revenge of the Sith timeline, the PT timeline, basically. So author Jude Watson, the cover artist, I forgot to put the name down, so I just put Scholastic. So I've got to correct that and I'll resubmit it later. It was published in paperback May 2006. And the placement basically for Legacy of the Jedi, it's 89 to 22 BBY. For Secrets of the Jedi, 39 to 22 BBY. And for the little standalone short story, I guess you could say, it's not exactly, it's like a novella, I guess you could say, 19 BBY, The Last One Standing. the continuity notes for the Secrets of the Jedi, all right, the Secrets of the Jedi is divided into 4 segments covering Jedi apprentices Dooku, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. So this is like 4 generations of Padawans, I guess you can say. And they're all linked to a certain storyline, a certain common thread, I guess you can say. Since the story covers Anakin as a Padawan, the story is moved to its earlier time from instead of 6 months into the Clone Wars. So they were looking at this from being in, like, going into the Clone Wars, but because of how young Anakin is in the Secrets of the Jedi and he's still a Padawan, they kept continuity and moved it so that it's maintained continuity with his age. Pretty cool, right? I mean, for, like I said, lore isn't a chore when George was in charge, right? Lore was not a chore. Lore was, and you know, that's so funny when you think about that, because that quote that Filoni was saying about George, continuities for wimps. You know, we know George, he has a crazy, dry humor. People take it fucking so seriously. And they really think like Eckhart's Ladder's latest video about George being brutal to the EU. And he literally took some things that George was joking around to making it seem like he's brutal to the EU, which he was just joking around with the creators of Force Unleashed. You know, so I mean, so people take him so fucking seriously. It's crazy to even fathom, I guess you could say. All right, Secrets of the Jedi. George Lucas gave exception to have Padme revealed in this novel. So that's where I got my Lucas facts from. When he restricted most creatives of telling her story between episode 2 and episode 3. And then a Republic Clone War Neutralian general named Solomahal, a New Hope Cantina character nicknamed the Colonel, is included in the novel, revealing that Obi-Wan from A New Hope time, worked with Solomahal. And so there we go. So we have again, lore, continuity being kept here. They took a Cantina character and expanded on him and made him be someone that Obi-Wan had worked with alongside during the Clone Wars. But hey, lore is a chore for a lot of people these days that are associated with Disney, Star Wars for some way, shape, or form, right? So there you go. Let me see what you guys are saying. You guys are saying so much. You guys are amazing. They did a great job up with Anakin, especially on the reread. At first, Vector Prime and Onslaught, you think Jason is the protagonist, but they really made Anakin seem to be the protagonist after. Yep. And it all goes into, you know, what George wanted, again, because he was involved with the stories. If he wanted things to be a certain way, they had to be that way. And so they didn't want he didn't want big focus of Anakin in New Jedi Order, Anakin Solo, because he was getting ready to do his prequel trilogy. Interesting, right? And so they changed the story around. They end up killing him off. And I remember hearing before that they really didn't necessarily need to do that, but they killed him off anyways. Let me see here. I can't stand that man. I know who you're talking to. Eowyn had help from Mary, Hobbit, you hack of a writer jackass. Woo! Look at this. Soul assassin. Feel the dark side. Let the anger. Feel that anger, the hate. I can't be serious on that because it's so funny just to see him get all worked up about it, and I'm giggling about it. I'm trying to be serious and trying to sound Sith, and I'm laughing. That's funny. Diddly squat, bro doesn't even know what happened in the movies of his own franchise. Imagine about novels of an IP he's not involved, right? And Soul Assassin, good to see you, brother. And I know that you commented up here earlier and I didn't read it, but hello again. Abunas. All right, let's see where I'm at with you guys. Let's see here. May 19th is the actual 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. Correct. Fuck Disney and the re-release of the movie. April 8th, the anniversary. All the shills and fence writers gonna give their money. That's right. And that's the thing, is you would think that they would go ahead and honor this movie on its actual anniversary date, but of course not. And they're doing it, to up people interest in Star Wars because they're going to release Andor. That's all. That's it. J.W. Rinsler talked about that quote. It's referring to the continuity within editing scenes, not the story doesn't matter. Right. I know, but do they know? No, they don't. They don't. They can't. They don't comprehend, or they're very short-sighted, I guess you can say. Let's see here. All right, so there you go. If you haven't read this yet, I would go on to sources like thriftbook.com and see if you can purchase it and put it on or in your library and add it. So this is book of the week. I didn't put anything about Last One Standing, but that's included in there. I'm thinking about doing some short stories, and I want to do Last One Standing on its own, but it is included in this omnibus here. And what's neat about Secrets of the Jedi is basically it is telling story of Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Anakin with their love interests, I guess you can say. Like Qui-Gon with Tal, I guess that's her name again. I think I got it wrong, maybe not. And how that almost turned him to the dark side. And then with Obi-Wan with Siri Tachi, there's a story with that. And of course, Anakin with Padme. So great stories there. Pick them up. They're good reads. And great continuity sources in them. Thank you, Jude Watson. I recommend this on your bookshelves as well. All right. Let's see here. I got to purchase it. Yeah, do it. Do it. All right. Let's get into our book of the not our book of the week. Geez, we already did that. Let's get into our lore talk. However, I do need to refresh my CAF because I was kind of needing it this morning, because I was so friggin' cozy in bed, and like it's a nice cloudy day, so it just makes you feel like cozy, like you just want to sit on the couch, get a blankie, and watch something fun. And right now, my definition of watching something fun is I'm going through the Spartacus series. So I did watch some of that last night before bed, and I stayed up a little bit later than I needed to, and that's probably why I felt a little tired too. But I do need extra coffee here. So pull out, if you have your Star Wars New Jedi Order source book, pull that out. Go refresh your CAF or your drink, your beverage, and we'll meet here in a couple of minutes. I'm going to play a video. My studio where I'm at is just right around the corner from my coffee pot, so it won't take very long. Fun, fun, fun. Yes, fun, fun, fun. All right, so let's go ahead and play this. Where is it at? Here we go.
Someone asked me to give the best reason why someone should read the expanded universe. After giving it a lot of thought, here's what I have to say. The expanded universe respects the reader. In the expanded universe, Luke Skywalker's optimism continues where it left off in Return of the Jedi. He's fulfilled hope to the galaxy, just like Obi-Wan said he would, not like the Disney movies where he gave up on the Jedi or even the whole galaxy for that matter. The character you see in those movies is not Luke. Luke isn't a quitter. He's not a pessimist. He's a leader. He's inspirational. And he's always there for his friends in times of need. Another character is Han Solo. He's introduced to us in A New Hope as a loner, a man who cares only for himself and nobody else. But by the end of Return of the Jedi, that all turns around when he finally finds friends he can trust and a true love to spend the rest of his life with. And that's exactly what he does in the expanded universe. Han is a devoted husband and father to Leia and their kids. He loves his family above all else. In the new movies, Han turns out to be a selfish deadbeat dad who ran out on his family when things get tough. It's a complete 180 from the character that we saw from Return of the Jedi. Now, another thing the EU does is it rewards its readers. Attention to detail when it comes to continuity has never been done at such a level as when it was performed by the expanded universe. Avid readers will constantly be rewarded for their diligence as comics, novels, video games, and even children's books share connections throughout the entire series, making it almost a flawless, continuous story. And though it has its minor flaws, it's still the best overall story in continuity out there, period. That's what the EU does. It respects and rewards its readers. And that's the best reason you should give it a try. Long live the expanded universe.
Long live the expanded universe. And what a perfect segue to our lore talk. Thank you, Matt Wilkins, for allowing me, having me, I guess you could say, or giving me the rights, I guess you could say, to play that video. You did such a good job on putting that together. And yeah, and thank you so much for, being a good friend and sharing the love of Star Wars and keeping my entrance of it when everything seemed to be falling apart, He is one reason why I decided to, him and Abunas basically are the reasons why I decided to turn my channel into a lore channel, a Star Wars channel. And, in his campaign to keep the EU alive, amazing. Go back and, watch some of those videos. All of that. So thank you so much. So let's move on and let's get into the new Jedi Order lore. Let me pull up my visuals here. And let's see here. Here we go. All right, so we are basically still in the Edge of Victory timeline. Again, it's not reviewing the novel per se, it's reviewing the events going on. I love how Purist is doing his unadulterated review of the novels with a few people on his panel, and it gives perspectives and insight from each individual and what's going on and what they talk about and what they catch, and are interested in, things they see. So it's I love what he's doing with that. Mine's a little different, which then keeps everybody's interest because, sometimes when we're on a panel discussing the novel in itself, there's might be some things that we can't really fully dive into and discuss for time's sake, or we'd be on those panels for hours on ends, So covering events and stuff like that on my end sparks interest for everybody to go over there onto Purist channel, listen to the reviews, the unadulterated, Star Wars. So I think it's a beautiful synergy going on there. I really do. And we really didn't plan it this way. It just happened that way. And I think it's awesome that, we're leading this renaissance together and getting everybody interested in it. You see on Twitter, there's a huge following now. There's a huge interest of people picking up the new Jedi Order now. And, and Scran is part of that as well. I mean, and this is his, it's just like Soul Assassin. This is his first time reading through, learning about, experiencing. And like I said, just to be in that place of the first time reader again. Oh my God, because I was so captivated. I still remember how I felt, what I felt like with certain events and what's going on. So to be that reader, that first time reader again, oh my God, I envy. Let's see here. And again, on Star Triggered Gatekeepers Alliance, we will be doing the roasting of fake Star Wars Celebration live. I will actually be there with them this time. I don't have anything going on other than I do teach a class that ends right when the live starts. And so I'll jump on as soon as I can. Because I don't want to miss out. I don't want to I want to be part of this Gatekeepers Alliance and contribute to, you know, we all of us who are part of Gatekeepers Alliance have our own ways of contributing to it. And I think it's another beautiful thing. Another beautiful thing. All right. So I'm rambling again. Let's see here. Hey, Ryan, look, I got those books you talked about. Yes, synergy. It's great to hear other people's perspectives of the books. It's all started with us trolling Star Wars Theory for his new Jedi Order books photo op to impress RK Outpost. Right, I know. And it turned into something amazing because, again, we create this surge of new Jedi Order on Twitter and beyond, and it's amazing. Okay, so let me go ahead and stop my rambling and stuff, and let's get into this. So I am going to go ahead and start with Anakin among the Vong. So I was going to talk a little bit about the Shaper colony and stuff like that, but let's go ahead and just stay on this here. Anakin among the Vong. With Val Ripung's help, and he is the Misshapen. So Misshapers are those who whose bodies don't adapt to all the tattooing and the implants and stuff that are done to their body. So and they're seen as heretics or whatever because the gods are not looking in their favor. Interesting, right? The gods are not looking in their favor. So let's go back. So with Val Ripung's help, Anakin Solo reaches the Shaper compound where the Jedi Academy once stood. So again, Anakin is going to rescue Tahiri. The trip is not easy, even with Val's aid. The Shamed Ones, and they're called Shamed Ones, I'm sorry, but Misshaper Shamed Ones, argues and even fights with Anakin seemingly every hour, debating Anakin's plans for approaching the compound, protesting Anakin's use of fire to circumvent the netting beetle or the netting beetles set out to ensnare them, and complaining about Anakin's infidel ignorance of basic Yuuzhan Vong doctrines. But Val has to admit that he needs Anakin's help and that Anakin's methods work, despite being mortal sin to the eyes of the Yuuzhan Vong. So this shamed one wants to infiltrate and get revenge. And so he's using Anakin to do that, to get in there. But also Anakin is accepting his help to rescue Tahiri. So even though there's this push and pull between these species and their beliefs and stuff like that, they're working together. Wow. Yeah, Misshapers are the lowest of the Vong society. Wild, right? Correct. And it's crazy how that works. And we're getting into some of the dismantling of the Vong here later, and it's very interesting. Okay, where was I at? Each of his complaints ultimately subsides, and an uneasy truce evolves between them. At long last, they arrive at the Shaper's compound, and Anakin and Val temporarily part ways to give Ripung time to resume his role as the mere Shamed One, and to allow Anakin to begin searching for Tahiri. To do so, he must appear to be a slave, for why would else a human be wandering through the compound? So this is where he goes undercover as a slave. This plan also means hiding his non-functional lightsaber. So basically it's broke, I guess you could say. Non-functional lightsaber in a succession pool in one of the Yuuzhan Vong's Demitux, I believe that's what it is. The vast multi-chambered structures that has the Shapers and the Warriors and nearly everyone else except, of course, the slaves. All right. Anakin learns to adjust to life, to life as a slave of the Yuuzhan Vong. Val implants false surge coral in Anakin, just reactive enough to give him the appearance of being a drone. So that's that coral. You remember when we discussed it a bit, and then it was also discussed on Pierce's channel. Remember when Luke had to cut out the surge coral, I guess you could say, from Jason, because they grow and they become part of the body, and it's a way for them to control slaves, right? Well, they had to make Anakin look like he was already embedded as a slave, I guess you could say. So that's very interesting. Anakin finds himself assigned to harvesting Yuuzhan Vong lambents. Very convenient. But you'll see why I'm saying that. Yeah, under Jason's eye socket, yes. And he had to go and cut them out, and that's crazy. Just cutting them out and I think there was one in his chest or something, I believe. And I know that he has one implanted when he's a captive in his belly or torso or something, but I'm jumping ahead. Surge coral reminds me of those beetles from The Mummy. Great film, highly recommend. All right, so alongside a shamed one named Uno, and so it sounds like it's named Uno too, but Uno. Lambents Anakin soon discovers are living crystals that provide illumination when simulated by something similar to telepathic energy. When Uno explains this energy, Anakin almost laughs out loud. God, it kind of reminds me of like how Han Solo, he's got a bit of his father in him with the humor and stuff like that, and believing things and stuff like that. What she describes, Anakin realizes, is not too terribly different from the Force. Were the crystals imbued with the Force, he could use them to repair his lightsaber. And he does just that. He meditates with it. He studies it. He meditates with it to bond, almost like a Kyber crystal in a sense, right? Because that's what Kyber crystals do. But Kyber crystals are not a big thing during this time frame. And there's a lot of different type of crystals that are used, and even artificial ones too. And so let's go on. So yeah, so he meditates with it. He bonds with it. He uses the crystal in his lightsaber that he repairs during the time, and that helps him detect the Vong some more. So it's almost like a way to detect the Vong and stuff like that. And later on, when they learn what happened and what he did, the Vong are so captivated and amazed by it as well. Let's see here. The surge coral. Oh, I read that. All right. Meditating on the Vong. So we'll get into that. After several days working with Unu in the Lambent field, Anakin has a much better grasp of the Yuuzhan Vong culture. The woman is far more communicative than Val has been. Bit by bit, Anakin comes to understand that Yuuzhan Vong perspective. If he escapes, what he knows will be valuable to the New Republic intelligence and might even help swing the balance of the war. But he still must escape, and he has not seen Val Repung in days. After Uno explains the working of the Lambents, though, Anakin has a plan. Because the Yuuzhan Vong only patrols the perimeter of the compound, Anakin is easily able to slip out of the slave quarters in the middle of the night. The Yuuzhan Vong know that the slaves cannot escape the compound or cause any serious damage inside the compound before being terminated. So see, he has the fake implants, so he's able to move around freely. He steals a lambic crystal from the field where he and Uno worked, returning to the succession pool where he had his first encounter with the Shaper compound. He retrieves his lightsaber and promptly bumps into Val. Anakin is all but ready to rescue Tahiri, but thinks he'll have a better chance if he repairs his lightsaber first, a task that might take at least a day. He convinces Val to hide him in the undamaged tunnels beneath the Great Temple for where he used to be. At any rate, while he attunes himself to the alien crystal. So he's going to go meditate with the crystal to bond with it so he can successfully use it in his lightsaber. And let's see here. As with his own people, not all the Yuuzhan Vong are evil. Their beliefs in their divine rights to this galaxy make them into killers, but ones with a cause. But ones with a cause. They don't need exterminating, as Kipteron plainly believed. They simply need to be stopped without anger and without hatred before their religion fervor wipes out or enslaves the entire galaxy. So they're kind of giving it in perspective more about the Vong, how some of them aren't as drastic, I guess you could say. He gets some surprising results, yes. With that realization, Anakin attunes the lambic crystal and repairs his lightsaber. And that's basically a foreshadowing towards the end of the series on how they make peace with the Vong, even though they don't have the word peace, and how they manage to coexist with them. And then some of the story goes into Legacy. All right, so Escape from Yavin 4. So there's a lot, like again, lore is not a chore under George Lucas during the time when he was the owner before he sold it. Because when you read through it again, after you read it for the first time, and you expand your knowledge on the lore afterwards, like when you go into Legacy comics and stuff like that, you see a lot of callbacks, a lot of setups and stuff like that. Like even with the Vong during that time, and how Darth Krayt uses the Vong as a tool to cause disturbance and disorder in the galaxy during that time. And we know that at one point, Bashir had Krayt captive in the embrace of pain. And she tortures him. Asherad head. She tortures him. And he's soon let go, or he escapes, basically. And you could say that that's another form, another Jedi. She turns or begins to turn to the dark side, in a sense. Later on, we know it's Jason. He gets affected by her manipulation and the torture from the Vong. The coral seeds were giving Krayt problems too, right? If George sold it to Fox, it'd still be under Disney. Fox is owned by Disney. Yeah, lore is not a chore unless you're a Disney Shield whore. Yep. All right. Escape from Yavin 4. Armed with his lightsaber. Yep. He fixed it. He's got the lambic crystal in there, and I think it's purple. I think the lambic crystal is purple. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is purple. Anakin enters the Shaper's Dematuk with Val, although it seems that they must fight their way through Yuuzhan Vong guards. Anakin, in typical Solo style, because he is Han's son, right? Circumvents the problem by using his lightsaber to make a few new doors. Soon, he and Val are on the roof. By then, Tahiri and Mazin Quad, the object of Rapong's quest, are in another Demetek entirely, preparing to board a Yuuzhan Vong ship that leaves Yavin 4. While Anakin and Val prepare to bring Mazin Quad to justice, the Yuuzhan Vong are doing the same. Mazin Quad's aesthetic heresy has finally come to light, thanks in part to some poorly chosen words on the part of her apprentice, Nimian. So basically, that's a fun read too. Like I said, we're not here to review the book, but once you get there, see what happens along that, and about how these shamed ones, how these shapers too are manipulative. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on behind the shapers, the shamed one, how they're manipulative, and this goes into later on in the story with some of the main guys that they fight against. I'm not going to reveal that right now, but we'll get to that eventually. Finally exposed, Mazin Quad prepares to face her inquisition. Accompanied by Ninyam and the evidence against them, Tahiri, Mazin Quad's transformation of the infidel into a Yuuzhan Vong is a prescribed science, and the master shaper must answer for her actions. So basically, she almost like committed heresy in a sense, but then they're also curious to what she did and what's going on. Okay, let's see here. Anakin and Val catch up with the shapers. Tahiri and their contingents of guards just outside the ship that aims to bear them away. To Anakin's horror, Tahiri does not recognize him. She believes she is Yuuzhan Vong, brainwashed by Jedi sorcery, trying to reach the objects of their respective quests. Anakin and Rapong are brought up short by fierce resistance from the Yuuzhan Vong guards. Let's see here what's going on. Oh, thank you so much. 5 gifted OG Star Wars membership. Thank you so much. Those who are gifted, remember, we have our listen party coming up on the 27th, and I'll have that up here shortly on Twitter and here on YouTube posts for you guys to mark your calendars. All right, interesting that the shame ones shows there might be a faction of Vong that are against the invasion. Yes, and that's very interesting with that. There you go. I could only wish this was a movie. Right. That would be so interesting. And these are, and I do have new ones up, and I keep forgetting to let you guys know. We have the EU Elitists. We have the Revan, Darth Talon. CAF chat one. Let's see here. Let's see here. Nobody expected her inquisition. Body horror from the Vong, right? Let's see here. Their girths are gonna Vong bong. Oh, thanks for putting that in my head. Haha, now I see. All right, let's see where I was at. Faced with a standoff, the Yuuzhan Vong commander has an empty staff wrapped around Tahiri's neck, and Val Rapong is too badly wounded to go on. Anakin bargains with the commander. If the commander compels Mazin Quad to speak the truth about what she has done to Val Rapong, Anakin will surrender. Quad demurs at first, but the commander ultimately forces her to answer Rapong's question. Are the deformities her doing or not? So he's blaming her for his deformities, because like I said, these shapers, they have an agenda, and we find out more about this agenda later on, because if the body does not adapt to the Tatooine and the shaping of the body with new body parts and stuff like that, and the body defects it, then you become a shamed one because it's against your God's wills, right? God will. And so shapers, they can, and they have, and we'll, like I said, as we go along, we'll talk about this some more. You'll probably hear more about it when we progress with Purist in his unadulterated Star Wars, and going through the new Jedi Order books, what's really going on with the shapers and how they have their own agenda. Yeah, so it's very, very interesting. Very interesting. Mei-Zhan Quad speaks the truth. She has done this to Vong Repung, and the gods could not have, because in her considered opinion, there is no Yuuzhan Vong gods. What? She's a heretic? She doesn't believe in the gods? What? That's blasphemy. That's blasphemy. The Master Shaper's heresy sparks a violent fury in the assembled Yuuzhan Vong. However, before they can seize her, Mei-Zhan Quad puts her Shaper lore to work, spearing the surrounding gods on, or guards, not gods. I need my fucking glasses. I decided not to grab my glasses this morning, and I'm reading, so now I'm like all comfortable kicking back, and now I need to have the book a little closer so I can see what I'm reading. On the elongated fingertips of her implanted 8-fingered hands, the commander and his troops die in a moment. It's like she has shaped their fate under her control. Crazy, right? She has shaped their fate under her control, meaning she can end their lives at will, and she is the one that's playing God. That's why she doesn't believe in God, right? They're gods, right? She's playing with that. Very interesting. Val Repung falls in a heap, and Mei-Zhan Quad skewers Anakin, pitting him in place. Despite his agony, Anakin somehow calls upon the Force to retrieve his lightsaber. Quad twists her razor-sharp fingers in the Jedi's wound, but still the weapon floats onward, landing not in Anakin's hand, but in Tahiri's. Suddenly, Mei-Zhan Quad understands Anakin had not lifted the lightsaber at all. Tahiri had. The young Jedi, not quite as brainwashed as the Master Shaper had believed, ignites the blade. Mei-Zhan Quad has just time enough to blink in surprise before Tahiri slices off her head. Off with your head! Anakin's relief turns to dread when he sees Tahiri smile. She enjoys killing. The dark side has her in its grasp. Tahiri turns to Anakin, cursing him for having her to the torture of Vong. Anakin appeals to her, trying to explain that he had no choice. Tahiri was his best friend. He didn't want to leave her. He loved her. The iciness passes from Tahiri's eyes, and she seems to awaken from a dream. Anakin brings her back from the brink of the dark side, though, of course, they still have the little matter of over a dozen Yuuzhan Vong warriors howling for their blood. Anakin reclaims his lightsaber and prepares to take as many of the Yuuzhan Vong with him as he can before he dies, but we know he doesn't. Repung, however, has other plans. His body, a mass of wounds, he somehow drags himself to his feet and positions himself between the two Jedi and the Yuuzhan Vong. Knowing that he is mortally wounded, he tells Anakin and Tahiri to take the ship and leave. With that, he turns and hurls himself at the warriors. Anakin and Tahiri scurry about the Yuuzhan Vong ship and get it airborne, only to have it crash to the ground as the Yuuzhan Vong controllers in the compound try to force Tahiri to land it again. Battered and sore, Anakin and Tahiri crawl out only a kilometer away from the Shaper compound. A Yuuzhan Vong ship is already on its way. Just then, Master Ikrit's final words come back to Anakin. Master Ikrit comes back to Anakin, his final words. You hear that, soul assassin? And who's coming? Oh, Grumpy Old Ninja. Welcome, welcome. All right. Together, Ikrit had said Anakin and Tahiri were stronger than the sum of their parts. Lending each other their remaining strength, they plucked thousand-year-old Masasi trees from the ground and slammed them into the approaching ship. Trailing molten globules of plasma, the Yuuzhan Vong ships continues to approach until a rain of laser fire cuts through the ship, turning it into pieces. Valen Horn, Sana and Quarrel, and Ramus Ven, having repaired Ven's broken transport, soar to the rescue. So just in time, it's repaired just in time. Yes, Ikrit. Aboard Ven's ship, the escapees make for open space. After cannibalizing the hyperdrive to get the mangled vessel moving again, they hope to run until they chance across someone who can help them. Valen feels the presence of Camp Salusar somewhere in the vicinity, and so they head straight for that spot. Meanwhile, aboard Wildcard, Camp Salusar confirms that the approaching Peace Brigade transport has at least one Jedi aboard. Talon-Karrde and his crew jump into action. Wildcard, Idiot's Array, Ether Way, and Sudden Demise speed forward to help the small transport ship out of the Yuuzhan Vong's blockade grasp. Sudden Demise lasts just long enough to absorb a salvo of plasma fire. Either way, soon loses all power, a sitting flink just waiting to be plucked off. Hardest of all for Karrde to bear, Idiot's Array blazing like an infernal, valiantly sacrificing itself to take out the Yuuzhan Vong destroyer, and Shadow Decol still aboard. Shadow Decol. So Talon-Karrde, like we talked about last Thursday, he summons his fleet. He summons his main ships. His organization is spread out throughout the galaxy. It's wide and vast, and he brings them in to help save the Jedi because of Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade, especially because of Mara Jade. And to see his valuable ships and his people, his people mean a lot to him. And if you've read like Heir to the Empire and also the Hand of Thrawn duology, it is stated so many times by him that, you know, his people mean a lot to him. No, he's not a sucker either, but he values his people. To see his people go down like this is disheartening, but it's for a cause too. So very good read here. Very good read. So if you're getting to the part of the book with all this action, there's a lot going on, like I said, and it's just heart-wrenching too. Like, these books are not, you know, they're dark. They're not like, oh, everything's going to be fine and stuff. There's a lot of sacrificing going on. And Talon-Karrde, you know, joins them because he knows if he doesn't, that him and his people could succumb to the Vong as well. Even as the realization hits Talon-Karrde that Wildcard is the only thing left between the Vong and the imminent destruction of Anakin's Belagar transport, a massive red Imperial Star Destroyer drops out of hyperspace almost on top of them. Booster Tarek, Phelan Horn's grandfather, finally arrives, and he isn't in the mood to let the Vong use his grandson for target practice. Here we go. So we know through the X-Wing series, was it the X-Wing series? Was it, or was it, when did he get the Errant Venture? It was the Hand of Thrawn, wasn't it? Anyways, so we know that he is the only civilian to be operating a super Star Destroyer, right? And he has it painted red. And he uses it as a living casino, trade, ports, and base. And that's his thing. But it's also understaffed, undermanned too. But that's another story. I would love to sit down and just talk about that dynamics with you guys. All right, let's see here. Where did I leave off at? As Anakin once more prepares to sell his life dearly, he hears the welcome sound of his sister's voice on the comm and sees that even more welcome sight of Jaina and Jason's X-Wings cutting them a path through the Yuuzhan Vong's coral skippers. They get out just in time. Something about aboard Errant Venture, some impossibly powerful secret weapon Tarek had set aside for emergencies, turn the remaining Yuuzhan Vong destroy into a miniature sun. Booster reveals even more surprise. Not only does he transport his son-in-law, the experienced Jedi Cornhorn, but somehow Booster has picked up most of the Array's crew and Shada Ducol, who got to an escape pod just before the Idiot's Array exploded. So happy ending there in a sense, because Talon Karrde didn't lose all of his people. Lost ships, but not all of his people. All right. Woohoo! There's a lot going on. We're gonna probably go over my 2-hour mark, but I don't care because I want to get through these. Nobody liked Booster. Oh, I think Booster is an amazing character. And I love his back and forth with Talon Karrde. And then also his back and forth with even Cornhorn, when Cornhorn and Merrick's Tarek was basically, in a relationship and growing their love interest and stuff like that. Because if you don't know the history, Cornhorn's father basically imprisoned Booster Tarek on Quetzal at one point for like 5 years or something like that. So there's that background there. So kind of crazy, huh? That that all of this conspired, and yet now we have Corn and Merrick's Tarek, married now. And I think at this time they have their daughter, but she's just baby or something like that. I could be wrong. But you have Valen, and then you have because Valen and his sister are not too far in age. So she's probably not with the Jedi just yet, or I don't know, because they don't mention her. So she probably still an infant or something like that, toddler or something like that. I just have to look. I have to later on. I'll look up at her age and stuff like that. All right. Must be awkward at the dinner table at the Horn House. I just love, and I'm not trying to go off, this is just all about lore, continuity and stuff, but I just love, even later on still, Booster and Cornhorn's back and forth with each other that they still have. It's quite amusing. There's this respect and stuff like that, but there's also still this teasing because of how the parents, were basically enemies at one time. All right. Aboard the Errant Venture. Since the destruction of the Jedi Academy on Yavin 4, Booster Tarek's Imperial 2 Star Destroyer Errant Venture has become the new home for the Jedi students, with what seems like half the galaxy out hunting Jedi. Tarek is understandably concerned that his one ship, the formidable as it is, won't last long against the Peace Brigade fleet, let alone a couple of Yuuzhan Vong warships. To keep the Jedi students safe, Booster Tarek has been jumping Errant Venture around the galaxy, more or less at random. With so many people eager to collect the reward being offered for even a single Jedi, Booster can't risk having a ship full of them sitting in only at any one place for a long time, which makes obtaining supplies a difficult proposition. To keep Errant Venture operating, Booster Tarek must send out supply ships, heavily altered and equipped with forged transponders so they can't be traced back to him. So that's what's going on. This is like everything is in dire, in dire straits, right? Everything. The lives of the Jedi. And all because even the New Republic is allowing this. And so you have these smugglers helping keep the Jedi alive. And this is all like work of Luke Skywalker, not only because of his marriage, but also because, he was once, he ended like the Hutt cartel under Jabba, right? So they have a lot of respect, the bounty hunters and all them. And even, the bounty hunters and the smugglers all have respect for him in a sense. Kind of put order back into their organizations, I guess you can say, if there's such a thing as order. And, and so with all of this collaboration, this trust, this, everything that Luke has established, this is the foundation he created for himself, for the order. And you would thought well, I take that back. You wouldn't have thought. You knew that he created that with the New Republic, but look at them. They turned on the Jedi because the Jedi are a force to reckon with for the Vong, but they're not doing exactly what they think they should do. And I mean, the New Republic is seeing the Jedi as not doing what they think they should do and stuff. And so they are unable to fully stop this invasion. And so they're turning on the Jedi, basically. They're turning on the Jedi. Let's see what you guys have to say. Listen, mate, all these books kind of start to blend together when you have a room temperature IQ like me, Mrs. Dash. All right, I still can't believe Disney threw all this out for their garbage. Just the stuff Stackpole and Zahn created is awesome, but there is so much more. Correct, there is so much more. And this right here, like New Jedi Order, is not just Stackpole or Zahn. This is a collaboration of many authors that got together and created these stories in continuity to what has happened before, keeping in line with the lore, because lore is not a chore. Lore was something that was fun to expand on and stuff. And if you go listen to HoloNet's documentaries and stuff, like, was it Lucino? Was it? Yeah, was it Lucino that went back and read through all the books that he could to understand what he's writing in and creating in? And it's great. It wasn't a chore. It was something fun for these guys to really dive into and create and expand on. And because that Luke doesn't exist, while you guys are talking about Jake, I'm guessing. Of course the Republic turns against the Jedi. Yeah, of course, right? Because we've seen that happen before in a sense. So it's like almost like, these, like I said last time, the old Republic turned on the Jedi, but it was under human, but a Sith, right? And then so dark times happened. This human-centric empire enslaved many species, including some humans, killed, committed genocide, all of that should happen, right? And so when we get to the New Republic, and finally when we have different species in leadership roles on the council, they act just like the Empire towards the Jedi and others. Isn't that ironic? Very fucking ironic. Oh my God, it's crazy. It repeated itself, but this time under the faction of multiple species instead of under one species, which is the humans. Very crazy. Boris Filia, your Jedi students are safe. Yeah, cool, but you're under arrest, Skywalker. Correct. They, like in Rebirth, and we'll get into that, in Rebirth, there's a warrant out for Luke and Mara Jade. Kemp Hamner takes a warrant information to them while they are basically on leave, I guess you can say. And Mara is like super pregnant during this time. And they're having some quiet time for themselves on a makeshift beach on Coruscant, enjoying themselves. Yeah, so that's fucking crazy. That is crazy. Yes, let's see here. Thank you for becoming a member. And keep a lookout. The listen party is Sunday the 27th at 6 p.m. I will be sending out links for you channel members. Here you go. Let's see here. Lore is what made a fictional universe more real, correct? It repeats again and again. Sure. Okay. I went over Story Bible and the creation of the series for about a month or two before we covered the Vector Prime. Very interesting stuff. Yes, I remember that. Did you send me the Story Bible to my email? I don't remember. I thought you said you did or not. If you can, that would be cool. Okay. Who are the Yuuzhan Vong? There we go. All right, so let's move on here. Okay. Where am I at? All right. So we're going to, let me see here. Like I said, we're going to go over. And I'm not, and I don't mind, but I do need to use the restroom. So with this, I'm going to play this. And we're going to have a quick intermission. And then after I get through Mara Jade's pregnancy, we do shelter. I think the shelter is the last one. We'll get into cringe factor. So we're almost there. I should have covered Mara Jade's pregnancy and aboard the Air Adventure last Thursday, but I decided not to. So we're going over, and I'm sure you guys don't mind. But let's go ahead and take a quick refresher break. And you know what refreshers are, right, in Star Wars. And we'll continue. And then we'll get into the Slave1 cringe factor article and go from there. So let's go ahead and do this.
3, 2, 1.
King. Everything published was king.
Good day, Star Wars fans. Long live George Lucas era of Star Wars. If you are new here, welcome, welcome. I have been watching, researching, comparing, and contrasting the original lore to Disney Star Wars lore. I have shown disdain on a beloved title being used for a new miniseries, and that is Tales of the Jedi. Taking a very loved Old Republic story title to try to recreate a similar feeling to a different story era, hoping to appease the expanded universe fans they told aren't wanted anymore. The show has 6 episodes, mostly written by Dave Filoni. Those who don't know, he is the creator and director of The Clone Wars. The average runtime of Tales of the Jedi short stories is about 15 minutes. Not a lot of time to develop a story or character. The dialogue isn't very intriguing. Continuity is not in line with their own stories and lore. Clone Wars by Tartakovsky, which had little dialogue with a short story and plot, gave more depth and development. Thinking about how I have disagreed with the title use, why did they not pay respect to the creator of the original and true Tales of the Jedi, Tom Veitch, who passed away February of this year? No, he is not the only contributor, but is the main writer and developer of the stories. You would have thought Disney Lucasfilm would give a respectful note to the creator behind the original title they appropriated. After all, Tom Veitch and George Lucas created the Sith lore together. This brings to mind how Disney Lucasfilm praised Filoni for the Night Sisters and the Dathomirian Witches in a publication that came out on the passing of Dave Wolverton. It took people like Open Airlock Policy and myself to gain Disney Lucasfilm's attention to take notice and pay respect. Tom's passing was due to complications of COVID, leaving his daughter, Angelica Stasola, to organize a GoFundMe to help Veitch's widow, her mom, Martha, keep her home and medical care through the funeral expenses. As of now, I don't know any of the outcome. It is unclear if Disney Lucasfilm helped with any expenses. As we know, they can't honor contracts with their authors. Why would they reach out and help? This is clearly what a corporation does. There is no compassion and honor to who came before. They just want to suck the legacy dry. The titles even look the same. Don't be mistaken. The company and its lore is as disingenuous as its approach and handling of what came before. Let's hold them accountable for their actions. Rest in peace, Tom Veitch. Thank you for your contribution to the original Star Wars lore.
You want to buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks. Eventually.
This is how
Star Wars
dies. With thunderous applause.
All right. So let's move on. I got in a conversation with my son real quick, seeing if he wants to do a lunch date. All right. Let's see where we're at now. You know, I didn't even move through these slides yet, so let me go ahead and do that. I just realized that. All this time I've been yapping away and talking and all that, and I didn't even show off the slides. So with this being said, we are in the rebirth now, moving into the rebirth part of this timeline here. And now there are more planets that have been taken by the Vong compared to the last one. Conquest was it Conquest? What's the name of it? But anyways, they were basically at a standstill. But now we have some other planets now in the dark that are taken by the Yuuzhan Vong. advance, in their invasion. And of course, here we have the Shapers compound. This right here was what I was trying to display last week, which PowerPoint wasn't working for me for a certain slide. And here's Anakin. This was when they were on Dantooine, this image, but that wasn't too far along. So he's relatively the same age here. This is Val. This is the shamed one. And here, of course, this is Tahiri right here when they had her, the MP staff on her and stuff. So just a little bit of visuals right here. Let me see what you guys have to say. Dave Phoney is literally dancing on their graves. Let's see here. It's not a company itself that is evil. It's the people who took it over and are even now completely destroying the source material. Correct. Let's see here. The Force Awakens was a hyper fast-paced feminist remake of A New Hope. Luke was the worthless MacGuffin mystery box. R2 replaced by Beach Ball 8. Why did I go to see that crap? Well, at least I boycotted 8. Yeah, there you go. You know. All right, so let's continue on. Let's see here. I'm going to answer my... All right. So let's see. We left off with Booster Tarek. We're moving on to Mara Jade's pregnancy. All right. Yep. My son's going to pick up lunch for us. It's a lunch date. He's going to bring it here. I love my son. If you guys are listening to the painting live stream that I had the other day, it did get copyrighted and blocked. I have to dispute that. So now you guys can't view it. I will take care of that. But he did bring me some tacos because I didn't have dinner yet. And it was Tuesday, and he brought me tacos. So he saved me. My son's amazing. All right. My Marine. All right. So Mara Jade's pregnancy. Mara Jade Skywalker has been trying to rest and conserve her strength since learning she carries a child. For months, she had relaxed as much as possible, the Battle of Duro notwithstanding, on Coruscant, spending time with Luke and undergoing a medical treatment that had began so long before with Vizier's tears. The tears provided by the strange little creature, the familiar of the Yuuzhan Vong priestess Elon, had done wonders for her. Her disease, the bioorganism that Nomenor had secretly infected her with, was in remission, and her baby was healthy and would soon be born. However, Vizier's tears had ran out some time past. Mara's treatments now consist of synthesized substitutes. So far, they have proven infectious, but while vaccinating with Luke vacationing with Luke on Coruscant, a terrible pain suddenly stabs through her and through her unborn child. Luke's cell calls for emergency aid, and an MD droid gives her the bad news. The synthetic medicine is keeping her alive and killing her baby. The Jedi healer Segal and the famous Hodin physician Ism Olis, I probably said that wrong, confirms that the MD droid's diagnosis, either the baby would die or Mara would. This news cannot have come at a worse time. Kenneth Hamner, the Jedi official liaison to the New Republic, arrives to tell Luke and Mara that Chief of State Borsk Felia has signed an order for their arrest. Oh my God. See, I was talking about that earlier. They must leave Coruscant within 6 hours. Someone recovered from the painful attack. Mara pilots Jade Shadow off Coruscant past some instant planetary security ship and on to rendezvous with the Errant Venture. And so this is where, this is an awesome scene where they're flying and Rogue is out there on patrol and are summoned to go after them. And so there's a crazy back and forth because we know that Luke is one of the founders of Rogue Squadron, and his niece is on the squadron now too. So very crazy little ordeal there. So shelter. So now they escape. They're fleeing. They're fugitives. They're fleeing. And Boris Felia wants them to leave so he doesn't really have to worry about them. He'd rather just have them go instead of chasing after them. So kind of they're given a leeway, and they are accompanied, or they are taken in by Errant Venture. All right. Sorry, I was looking at my son's text. All right. It's hard to believe people fell for the who is Rey's parents. Oh, yeah. You guys are still talking about that? Shelter. All right. So, Luke and them are now on Aaron's venture with Booster Tarek and them, and he is now harboring them, keeping them safe, along with basically Luke's order. So Luke's order is right now on Errant Venture because they are wanted by everyone, like by the New Republic, by the Peace Brigade, by the Vong. They are completely wanted. That's why Booster Tarek has been jumping them to different locations, just to keep the Peace Brigade, the Vong, and New Republic off their tracks and stuff. So this is like what they call the new Jedi Purge in a sense, because they're trying to eradicate the Jedi, thinking that if they do, that then the Vong will peacefully work with them and they wouldn't succumb to becoming slaves and stuff like that to the Vong. So shelter. With the Jedi hunted like animals in nearly every part of the galaxy, they need a safe place to rest and regroup. Maw installation near Kessel seems the perfect place. Although the location is fairly well known, navigating past the black holes to reach the comm center is suicide for anyone who doesn't really know the way. Since the destruction of the Maw installation, only rubble remains, but with a little work, the Jedi patched that rubble together into a working space station, and they name it Shelter, a safe house for the Jedi to meet and conduct business. We know Shelter affects the Jedi in the long run, especially the young ones, and that goes into Fate of the Jedi. Construction of Shelter falls to Lando Calrissian, the man, Lando Calrissian, who is such a great entrepreneur and technician. He comes up with so many new inventive things. And chat, name some of the things that he invented that either name things that he invented that has been used either by Luke or captured by the Empire and used. If you could name some things. In fact, there are some things that they use here in the New Jedi Order that he invents. Let's see here. Where was I at? Who had visited the Maw installation before, and who of all the friends of the Jedi could cobble together a bunch of useless junk into something not only worthwhile but comfortable. Again, Lando. Shelter includes defense guns, a repair dock, living quarters, and in typical Lando style, a rather opulent private suite. Aboard the simple sanctuary, Lando, Han Solo, Leia, and Jason meet with three individuals who might be able to make life easier for the Jedi. Luke Skywalker's Great River. As Leia Organa Solo recovers from injuries sustained at the Battle of Duro, and that's why we don't see much of her. She's recovering. That's a great concept, right? It takes a while for someone to recover, right? No matter who you are. She discusses with her brother the ramifications of Saban Law's Jedi hunt. Luke agrees that the Jedi need a safe way to travel through the galaxy from wherever they might be to the safe house in the Maw. Perhaps more important, the Jedi need a way to travel unmolested to the planets that need them the most. Places where the power of the Jedi could help innocents survive, free of the shackles of the Yuuzhan Vong. Han Solo isn't too pleased with Luke's idea. He agrees that it makes sense, that it is the right thing to do, but Luke has only the vision, not the plan. Make me a great river, Han, Luke says, a stream to carry the endangered, the wounded, the weary to safety. This is Luke's great river. With the Yuuzhan Vong occupying a huge wedge of the galaxy, travel is tricky proposition. A ship must plot a hyperspace course past occupied space and hope that it has sufficient fuel. For most ships, this is not a problem. But the Yuuzhan Vong know from Ithor just how effective an indicator I can't even say the word. Let me take a drink. Oh. Where was I at now? Interdictor cruiser can be in a desolate section of space on the Corellian Run trade route. The Yuuzhan Vong test their own version of the interdictor cruiser and snare the Millennium Falcon with Han, Leia, Jacen, C-3PO, and R2-D2, and a pair of Nogri bodyguards. Oh, this is crazy. This is a crazy story. Like I said, there's a lot going on here. The interdictor's gravitic pulse wave knocks everyone unconscious and shuts down most of the Falcon's systems, including artificial gravity and life support. With Yuuzhan Vong boarding parties trying to subdue them, the core skippers breaking down their necks and breathing down their necks, and the heroes rely on some inspired tactics and a couple of free floating conscience missiles to get the Falcon powered back up and safely into hyperspace. So this is their realization to what Luke needs and wants them to do is finding the Great River, a way to move around the Yuuzhan Vong and even the Peace Brigade and all of them. And so we're going to leave it here, the Great River, and they're finding new routes, safe way to travel, so they can get to planets effectively without having to encounter the Yuuzhan Vong or other, like the Peace Brigade and stuff. So this is something that's being put together and being taken care of here. All right. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the cringe factor here. So we'll leave it at that. Luke's Great River, Han, Leia's, and all theirs near capture scenario will be talked about later, as well as the birth of Ben Skywalker and the coming stories. We're leading now in towards, let me open up the book again, towards Star by Star. So prepare yourselves. Let's see here. The truce unravels. So that's another part of the storyline that we're going to cover. I'm thinking about talking about the spy ships too. And the Yuuzhan Vong dissension. And let's see here. There's a lot going on in this duology. And of course, the State of the New Republic will be in Star by Star, and the birth of Ben. So we'll get into that here. Coming not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. This coming Thursday, we're going to get into the formation of the Alliance to Restore the Republic, or the Rebel Alliance, so that we can cover all the true, real Star Wars lore behind that. And let's see here. What are you guys saying? Is this where Luke had thoughts back to Order 66? Yeah, I believe so. Let's see here. I haven't watched the Fantastic Four trailer. I haven't been following that other than what people are saying. Subscribe to Pure, subscribe to Scran, Gatekeepers Alliance this Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be there. I will as soon as I'm done with my class. All right, so let's go ahead and switch gears here. Let me remove this. Oh, you know what? There's one thing I didn't show you guys down here, and this is the This is the maw. It's not necessarily the shelter, but here's the maw. So you have all the black holes here, and there's ways to get in here, but it's very, very strategic planning and maneuvering through the maw system, and the stations and stuff that was destroyed here, again, they call it now shelter, was recreated to shelter the Jedi Order and be a base for everyone like Lando, Han, and the family, the Jedi, and stuff like that. Stay tuned, guys. The Vong War is far from over. It is. It's far from over. And let me see. Let me remove this now. Let me put myself right here. Hello. All right. So stay tuned for next week, though. We're going to shift gears a little just to talk about the formation of the Rebel Alliance in the height of Andor coming out. I want to put George Lucas era front and center. They are rewriting, they are rebooting the lore, and I want to keep the true lore front and center with you guys here. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get into our cringe factor.
So uncivilized.
So uncivilized. Let's see here. Pull up the article here. I don't think I'm going to read the whole article, but we are going to go through this. Let me see. I'd rather have this here. Here we go. All right. And we know there's been a time, it's been a long time since we've talked about this, but when it first was announced that they're changing the name of Slave1 to like Jango or Boba Fett's fire spray or what have you. And it was all, even something that was brought to attention when Book of Boba Fett came out, the show. Myself and like Tim and others have covered this controversy. And I've had back and forths with other people like Disney shills on Twitter saying, well, George, that was never George's name for it or blah, 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 blah. And then it share facts that it was in the Empire Strikes Back novelization. They're like, well, that's not really George. Well, yes, it is. It is. So these novels were created off of his scripts and stuff like that. And then when you get into like the concept art, its name is given in the concept art too. So we're going to cover this. Let me see what you guys are saying. Let's see. They really don't know Jango's history. He was a slave for a brief moment. Yes. And that's the thing too. And I did share. Yeah, I've seen that. Soul Assassin. I'll pull that up here pretty soon. I will share also like one of the informations from the concept art and stuff as well. But I did share this, like the name of Slave1 and how it got, how he came about with the name, even during that time when I was debating these Disney shills and how it came about. People are so polarized, or I don't know, polarized probably is not even a good word, but they are so fixated on the term slave and how it might offend a group of people, which I understand. I'm not saying that it wouldn't. I understand, but this has nothing to do with our world, but what happened with Jango and why he named the ship. You're right. Twilight's exotic sex slaves. Yeah. And it's actually a way of freeing himself, how he was a slave and how he freed himself, how he got free and stole that ship and stuff like that. So there's a huge story, not a huge story, but there's a story behind that. OG, you know better than to argue with shills. Have to limit your time with them or you'll suffer fatigue and or brain fog. Oh, no shit. I know that. Soul, these clowns aren't anything Star Wars lore. Don't know anything Star Wars lore. Nobody wasn't even thinking about Boba Fett Slave1 for decades. Yeah. And, Abu Nas, I don't think this title of the ship offends you, right? I mean, I've never heard you bitch and complain about it. And not that I'm reaching out to our token black man that's in the chat, I'm not really trying to do that. But in reality, slaves wasn't just being a slave, wasn't just a certain group of people. In history, in different lores, there are so many other groups that were slaves, right? We was kidding, OG. I know. I know your guys' humor. I know it. And I don't think people can separate, reality from fiction and a story behind from reality. We with kids. Abu, you don't have to explain that to me. I know. Oh, there's a fire truck out here. I hear that in the background. Those people who, let me see. Those people of who I am one having no right to be offended by the term slave. Slavery is unique to no human. There are more humans enslaved right now than all of human history. It is ridiculous. Let's see here. It's funny that they got so butthurt over the word slave, but who erased the cover of certain actors from their poster? Oh, that's right. They're having the Easter function. Yeah, the Easter bunny's driving by in the fire truck. You hear that? I forgot that the event's going on today here in the community on the res. So the fire truck is escorting or driving the Easter bunny to our rec center for the Easter party. You hear that? All right. Let's see here. What wasn't even thinking about that. We grew up and saw the ship was Slave1 and we still didn't even trip. We just loved the character and the stories that took us to the galaxy far, far away. Correct. And Richard Quinn is here. Welcome back to New Cocksters. Cocksters. I'm Eric Boss. Well, hello. EB in the house. Hello. What's up? All right. So let's get into this article here and then we can wind down and close out the show and be prepared, you guys. Next week we're talking about the Rebel Alliance, its formation and such. All right. So let's get into this article here. Why did Lego call the new UCS Slave1 a fire spray? So Lego's new Star Wars playset, an incredible 2,970 pieces model of Jango Fett's fire spray, seemed to be avoiding the old Slave1 name. The Slave1 is a heavily customized fire spray 31 class patrol and attack crafts used by Jango Fett and later inherited by his son, Boba. The Slave1 is iconic both in universe and among viewers as one of the galaxy's most efficient and feared bounty hunter vessels, yet the ship's name is rarely spoken in recent Star Wars properties. Lego recently revealed that they would be releasing the Slave1 as part of their Ultimate Collector series. The set was introduced with a harmonious parody of a family sitcom intro with the unconventionally wholesome father-son duo of Jango and Boba flying in the Slave-1. Surprisingly, the ship is referred to as Jango Fett's starship instead of the Slave-1 or its altered designation used in some Star Wars material. Disney is now officially calling Boba Fett's starship his fire spray. So here it is right here. I'm not going to play the video. And this one says, introducing Jango Fett's starship, beloved family ride of the galaxy's most unconventionally wholesome father-son duo. Wow. They're saying wholesome father-son duo. Now, you guys, when you think of Jango and Boba, they do have a beautiful son-father relationship. It could be wholesome. Like you could see how much Jango loves Boba, right? You could see that. But in the long run, is this, and they say unconventionally, I get it. But what do you think about this father-son duo, which is basically his clone that he's raising, right? What do you think about them? Do you think that they're a wholesome, like they're a father-son duo that needs to be looked up to? I don't know. It just kind of seems funny. Shields can't handle the Mandalorian lifestyle. I agree. Boba is now a good guy thanks to Book of Boba Fett, right? A wholesome host clone duo, right? It just seems really funny reading that wholesome father-son duo kind of deal when, you know, there's a lot more dynamics going on. And when you get into their lore, especially in the real Star Wars, yeah, they're a great father-son or father clone son or whatever you want to call it. But in a sense, they're not like the wholesome type idealistic father-son material to look up to. You know, I'm not trying to downplay this whatsoever, but that's just the truth, right? But then when you look into Mandalorian culture, if you go behind that, there is a lot of wholesome stuff going on in there when it comes to family dynamics and stuff like that, even though their culture is a warrior type culture, and stuff like that. So, I mean, it is what it is. It just sounds funny to me when the dynamics is way complicated than that. The origin of the Slave-1 was revealed in the original Star Wars Legends Continuities video game, Star Wars Bounty Hunters, Jango Fett's original starship, The Jester's Legacy. All right. That is wrong. The origin of Slave-1, now I'll take that back. How Slave-1 came about. Yes. How that came about, yes, that's where it happened. However, Slave-1 came about as a name, as a ship in Empire Strikes Back novelization, and then also in its concept art. How Slave-1 was came about under Jango, yes, that's where we find out how Jango gets Slave-1. How he named Slave-1. However, the original origin of how it came to be, lore-wise, is Empire Strikes Back novelization. You get what I'm saying there, you guys? Let's see here. Look at Cintas and her daughter, Aelin. When Freeman said, "Go protect your daughter," Cintas was puzzled by the word protect, and Aelin shot a cannon at bandits. That right there is a crazy story right there. All right. I know about the name when I was little because I had it as part of the Micro Machine set, and it was long before the prequels, correct? Exactly. For those are Slave-1's true origins. Yeah. Yeah. So they came up with the origin story. However, the name Slave-1 originated from Empire Strikes Back and the concept art. So that's a great way to explain that. And I wish that they would have broke that down a little bit more. Let's see here. Following the Star Wars franchise's partial reboot in 2014. Partial is a full reboot, really. Jango and Boba Fett's vessel was still called Slave1, but starting by 2021, the ship's name was no longer spoken or marketed in merchandise. So it was the time of the Book of Boba Fett, and I think a little bit before that. When 2014 is when they started really the full reboot of Star Wars by throwing out, I would say, 90% of the lore. And that's where we started seeing a lot of these changes. It was simply Boba Fett's starship or Jango Fett's starship. Through the Book of Boba Fett, seemingly gave it a new designation, treating Fire Spray as the new name. As the new Lego set reveals, the new Fire Spray designation has not been unanimously adopted as the ship's new name. And let's see here. Although Jango and Boba Fett's ship is still canonically the Slave1, I would say it's not, because they are slowly changing things, and over time it will not be used at all. Just like how they're slowly changing how people see the movies. By the time George is gone, people will be seeing it differently than what George intended for the movies and the lore to be seen as, right? This is another way. This is basically manipulating people and changing. Like, what do they say? The butterfly effect, I guess you could say. Is that am I saying that term right? Where over time something's changed to where by time you get used to seeing it again, you forget the origin, the original name of something. And Lucasfilm and Disney likely wish to avoid marketing merchandise with the word slave. But George didn't care. He still did it. He still marketed it as its name because that guy, he's not afraid of hurting people's feelings. And I'm pretty sure that he didn't think that that was going to be taken as offense to any group of people, right? In it, due to the world's unpleasant undercurrent. And see, they're thinking now, like back in the day when we're all growing up and even with our parents and stuff like that, it wasn't offensive. But now all of a sudden, now like 30-something years later, it's offensive. All right. I think people have been raising too soft of kids, The choices has annoyed a contingent of Star Wars viewers, though it is not the only instance of Star Wars rebranding an element of its lore to avoid the word slave. Merchandise predicts Princess Leia during her brief enslavement by Jabba the Hutt refers to her as Hutt Slayer rather than Slave Leia. So there you go. There you go. There's the story here. Still continuing to reestablish the lore and how we see it in fear of hurting those weak souls out there. Those Disney shill soy boys. All right, let's see here. There are definitely planning to remake the original trilogy. They'll make it, shills will praise it, and it will fail. Correct. Disney will edit Hutt Slayer Leia by editing with the spats of a shirt to ruin costume. Disney are white slavers. They didn't want to protect. They didn't want to protect. Laugh out. Yeah. All right, you guys. So there you have it. Let me go ahead and pull up something here, and then we'll call it a day. And I'll share the article. Stop. All right. So let's go ahead and play this. It's not letting me rewind. Why are you not cooperating with me? Okay, here we go. So let's remove, stop screen sharing, and screen share again. And here it is. Share. All right.
You mean lead us?
Ross, I'll let you know what I find out.
Hey, did you name that new ship of yours yet?
She's called Slave1.
There's kind of a ruthless ring to it. Fits your personality. I'll await your transmission.
All right, so there we go. He doesn't exactly give why he renames it Slave1, But there you go. He renames it. I booted myself out. I yeeted myself out of here. I pressed the wrong tab and booted myself out, but I'm back. Hello. No video or audio, Laura. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. So let's see here. Let me go ahead and share. I found what I was looking for. I just accidentally yeeted myself out, pushed the wrong tab. Let's see here. Here it is. But did you guys hear the one with Boba Fett? Did that one play? Because I think I yeeted myself out after the fact. The live goes into Vong in the Force for the moment. Ha ha ha. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and make a bigger picture here. Let's see here. So here is from Empire Strikes Back concept art. You go ahead and shrink that out. So here you go. So this is the concept art. I do have the Art of Star Wars, all the concept art for the movies and such, and adding on with a lot of expanded universe stuff that's available out there still. You know, as an artist, I love looking at all these details and stuff like that. So here you go. Here is the starship. And down here, and I'll show a bigger clip of this. They do say Boba Fett's ship, Slave1, and then Slave1 model. So here, this is the concept art that it has been named during the time Slave1 in its production, in its creation. And again, here it is again. I did a close-up of the description here just to show that this is what they have been calling it from the beginning, and it was George's intention. So they're renaming George's material as well. Yeah, it played. Thank you so much. So I thought I'd share that as well, but I can't believe I yeeted myself out. Let's see here. And by accident, I pressed the tab. I thought I was leaving YouTube, and it yeeted me out of StreamYards. All right, so closing up here. Tonight, Casual Rage is on, so see you guys there in the chat. I do have a planning meeting with Gatekeepers Alliance, so I'll be there, and then I'll be listening to and modding Casual Rage, so check that out. See you there when I'm done with our meeting for our Gatekeepers Alliance. For Gatekeepers Alliance, it's Friday starting at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will be there as soon as I can be there after my class. My yoga class ends at 7. That's when the show begins. So I may be on the road participating. And once I get home, I'll log on to the computer and be joining in with Gatekeepers Alliance. And I have no trainings or anything to worry about for the next few. So Gatekeepers Alliance. And so I can't wait to contribute to that. And I do have a video coming for that Gatekeepers Alliance. So stay tuned for that as well. I do want to get with Star Wars Marvel Purist and do an EU video for Gatekeepers Alliance, because it's not only about exposing the shills and what Disney's doing to Star Wars. It is also about giving you Star Wars lore. and talking and going over the dynamics of what is canon and what have you and stuff. So I'd love to sit with purists and I know you're here listening and go over some material for Gatekeepers Alliance for that aspect. And Soul Assassin says, you know what I haven't said in a while? Booty yoga. And yes, happy Easter, y'all. Yeah, and so stay tuned for Gatekeepers Alliance Friday. Be there. Go ahead and subscribe on Mr. Grizzly's live for that, and also the channel Gatekeepers Alliance as well. We need to really boost attention for that and start triggered on YouTube, not YouTube, on Twitter. And so you guys haven't had a chance, go over there, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And next week, CAF Chat Lore will be about the formation of the Rebel Alliance. So stay tuned for that. And of course, follow me on Twitter because you're going to hear a lot from me when Endor comes out. You know me, I have to compare and contrast. I have to stay on top of what's being changed and the perspectives on that because that's important to me and this channel as well. And the lore and staying true to George Lucas era Star Wars. So thank you guys again for tuning in. This was fun. I think I'm going through allergies. My voice seems to be a little harsh today. It's not like upbeat like normal, but I feel fine. So yeah, so it's time to rest this voice and have some lunch with my son. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Let me find a video to play as we start exiting here. What do I want to do? Since we're talking about Slave 1, let's go ahead and do this.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave 1, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars collection.
And like, subscribe, and share, and become a channel member. Because on Sunday the 27th at 6 p.m., we are doing the listen party in conclusion of Dark Forces trilogy, novella trilogy, A Jedi Knight. So if you want to participate in that, in the fun, and become a channel member. So thank you guys again, and have a great day, and may the Force be with you.
Another happy landing.